Affordable accessible housing stock is becoming an increasingly compounded challenge for OS construction, particularly for those who look to complete much of the build within the factory environment. Unfortunately, those countries who are considered to be more mature in this market sector are passing on their bad habits to those that are developing in the same market, and that is not going to be good for the shortage of housing stock, or those entering the value chain, including investor confidence in the market. It is worth taking a few minutes to understand arguably the underlying chronic issue to avoid dealing with the sporadic distractions that flare up with increasing regularity. This considered extract is a response to a reply to a posting depicting an incremental decline of starter homes since the mid-1970s. It arguably captures the origins of the underlying challenge of the OS modular industry. The OS modular industry has been shaking off the aesthetic appeal of prefab housing based on post-war solutions for decades, not really a thank you for a rapid solution. I don't believe the extract is an unguarded accusation of the unfair advantages of a misplaced position of OS manufacturers, although advantages are arguably being taken by many as an attempt to justify or simply to survive. The extract is more profound than that. It represents the moment the poison chalice and the Midas touch collided. It is difficult to validate any single act that challenged Adam Smith's assumptions as to the invisible hand, i.e. self-interest can result in societal benefit. A fuller understanding can be found in The Wealth of Nations. It's an old book but aged well. The question is, why didn't the introduction of OS Modular drive down the price of housing stock? Why hasn't OS Modular provided accessible affordable housing solutions? The natural assumption is either those already in the construction market didn't want the OS in the same league and distanced themselves, after all far too lucrative and loaded to have a competitor in the market with a very different approach. Or was it, those OS visionaries wanted independence from the start? It is uncertain what factors set the path to the OS modular industry's route to market, but once on it, it appears however fragile the strategies have proven to be, it has not taken steps to do a course correction, yet without one, not much is likely to change. The observation made to starter homes with the distinctive connection to affordable is a little easier to understand as to why the ball was dropped, not because of two events, one in UK 1975 and again in the USA 1981, wishing to stay away from politics, but I am assuming both these individuals had read Adam Smith. The transfer of responsibility for social, low-cost housing into a free market without authority, or arguably the desire to provide affordable housing stock, must be a contributing factor to the challenges we see today. Clearly mid-70s, early 80s, OS Modular was not the intended target to sip from the goblet of opportunity. The current spotlight is on OS because of related skill shortages in traditional construction being in some parts of the world the core driver, which is a little odd, as Adam credited government with few core functions, one being that of education. We can't put the genie back in the bottle, and arguably nor should we, but is it not now the time to work on collaborative solutions to resolve the challenges from a position of understanding and acceptance, and that it is going to take a wider team fix? The dropped ball theory is an opinion of the author of this micro video. Accuracy in content loading is subjective to interpretation. The purpose is to outline that the solution to OS modular affordable housing was not an act of failure of manufacturers alone, if at all, and the resolution to the changes needed to address affordable housing stock is equally not going to be an isolated recovery. The author has identified two key players: government and enterprise. There is probably a third as an apex header being the financial sector, but the purpose is to support the helicopter view, so any functioning entity goes under the header of government or enterprise. The most obvious differentiator is one is to make money, the other is to spend it. This may appear to be a conflict of interest, but it is the basis in which greater collaboration can be formed, but the solution must feed these two fundamental requirements. Important to success is they can't be any losers. Some will have to make changes in the way revenues and profits are earned, but a positive united self-serving benefit to the collective and therefore society is essential. And yes, we are re-engineering the assumptions of Adam Smith, not putting the genie back into the bottle, but protecting the bottle as a collective interest. The platform of attainment is on engaging the core drivers of provide and invest, the spenders, and facilitate and benefit, the makers. This takes the scope of attainment of affordable housing stock way outside the comfort zone of many OS modular manufacturers, but that's okay, they are critical to the solution, once they adapt to be liberators of their own incarceration. This covers an opinion as to a possible root cause of the unattainability of affordable housing stock. The remainder of this shared experience is the focus on how OS modular manufacturers pick up the gauntlet, and in doing so expand their market sector in the process. Focusing on the OS manufacturer in Part 2. If it's agreed that the success in providing affordable housing stock is on the radar for many OS modular manufacturers, with the purpose of making a profit in the process, we have to move beyond the limitation of innovation for self-serving retained profits and service the market. This is not to be confused with sacrificing self, quite the opposite, it is about everyone in the value chain creating more wealth. The objective is to create a synthetic invisible hand. It is fair to say Adam Smith was just as much praised for his economic theories as he was ridiculed, with a notable observation that the invisible hand could create greed in a free market. Maybe if the OS modular manufacturer was not late to the party, when it comes to providing housing stock, things may have been different. The fact is very few want to provide affordable housing stock, for anything but profit, so we have to create an environment where the intention of government offering affordable housing to a free market actually works. In Part 2 considers the core 3 changes OS manufacturers will need to consider. 1. Their route to market. 2. Trust in volume, the hard bit. And 3. Team player on a horizontal platform. In meeting the 3 core requirements to provide competitive housing stock at any level of market sector attainment, Part 2 will consider what is readily available in addition to what is coming online 2024. Technical solutions to include product design technologies as a solution-based platform in addition to production-based assets at a low-level cost point of entry or at the high end if desired, but the differentiator will be capacity, with equality in capability. Route to market is facilitated by the technologies, with the impact explained. Dynamic integration is how all the contributing parties benefit as a collective for self-serving gains. OS Globalized is about cross-border trade in OS manufacturing components and product solutions. If you have managed to sit through the whole video, you have done well. It is important to attempt to outline a considered perspective of where the market failed, because however accurate it is without going down each branch in detail, it is almost certain on addressing the affordable housing cost challenge, it's going to come from the collective. In Part 2, I hope to demonstrate a considered view as to how